I'm Scott Higgins, along with ORU head women's basketball coach Misti Cussen. And Misti, how are you and your husband Kyle doing during this time of staying at home?
We're doing well. I mean, as two college coaches, because Kyle coaches women's college soccer as well. April and May has always kind of been our sweet spot every year, because by the time we come off the road recruiting in August, he's already started 2-a-days or 3-a-days with fall soccer. And then by the time we start in November, he's kind of finishing. And so for years, raising our two daughters, we've kind of passed the baton a little bit. And
Sure.
so there's always a great honey-do list waiting when we get to April, and we knock that out. So I'm feeling very accomplished at home, but it's been really good. Our girls are 16 and 12 now, and they've done a great job with the distance learning with our school district of being self-starters and getting their stuff done every day. And so I know we've been really blessed that our girls have taken care of a lot of business academically here at home, and that's allowed Kyle and I to kind of keep doing our head coaching things as needed.
A lot of people are saying they get to be closer with their family, not only literally, but also figuratively. What kind of activities are you doing with the girls that maybe you didn't do before?
Well, we absolutely believe, and everybody joins in on the project list. So we've kind of done that with our kids since they've been little. And so, and we've been blessed with a lot of good weather here in Oklahoma during some of these early weeks. I say that, and we've got a little bit of hail and rain coming down outside today. But it's been a lot of fun because we've had some outdoor projects in the backyard that we've been able to kind of work through and get done. We have a couple of new board games. We broke down and bought Catan finally. I know that's kind of like been around forever, but we haven't ever done it before. I was the first winner.
All right.
So things still competitive here at home. So we've done some things like that, but really for the most part, it's been great just having 3 meals together a day, here at home, and just it doesn't sound like a treat for, I'm sure for a lot of people that do that a lot. My mom was a full-time homemaker. She never worked outside the home. So I have much more appreciation for the years and years that she put in doing that for our family. But it's been a real treat for us during this time to get to just enjoy that closeness.
Well, sure. Now, on the business side, things are different as well. How are you communicating with your coaching staff?
Well, a lot of just phone calls and text, Zoom calls. I've got one coming up here in a couple of hours, even with our staff, that we'll kind of connect and get on together. And so we've stayed. We've got the group text thread that we're always putting little quick blurbs out with each other, and then that kind of feeds into our communication with our student athletes from not only this year but the incoming student athletes coming in this next year as well. So we rotate players around sometimes. Some of us kind of have different players that we're responsible for communicating with on a regular basis as far as how their academics are finishing up this spring, kind of needs that we have for the incoming players, from paperwork to admissions and everything else. So probably the typical avenues of communication that everybody else has right now too.
All right, what's the word from the team on how they're doing academically as we round out the semester and how they're keeping in shape?
Well, we have 4 returning players. We graduated a huge group this last year, and which that's a blessing too, though, because to have a spring where we had 5 seniors and 7 upperclassmen, I mean, those young women who have carried kind of a team GPA of 3.5 to 3.6, they know how to take care of their business academically anyway. I think we've got 3 of the girls were finishing up online master's classes and things of that nature. So
Sure.
It's not any different for probably 30% of our team right now. So that part of it has been a real blessing for our coaching staff, because the girls have done a great job just maintaining what they've already been doing. So I know that some of our younger players, we check in with them, and they're having a lot of success. They've really enjoyed what ORU has done as far as, I know that our faculty at ORU has done a fantastic job of working with our student athletes through distance learning. And along with that, they continue to be available when these different individuals have questions or needs. I've even been able to reach a couple of our professors trying to kind of help troubleshoot and help some of our players just kind of navigate some of the intricacies of working through distance learning, and everyone's just been a joy to work with. You really get the servant heart of Oral Roberts University as a culture coming through in times of adversity like this. So it's really been a blessing for all of us.
And I guess staying in shape, it's push-ups, sit-ups, and whatever you can do at home, right?
Well, and there's really no gyms open even for our
Right.
girls who are away and back home. And so Tyler Beckman, our strength and conditioning coach, probably by the end of spring break, maybe at the end of that first, the end of the first week, we've had 2 phases of body weight workouts come through and passed along to our girls. And so, leave it to a creative strength coach. He can find a way to get them doing some lifts and doing some workouts without having to have plates and bars and equipment and everything else. So everyone's pitched in and found some creative solutions to what we're dealing with right now.
You just brought in a huge recruiting class, as you said. How different was that to recruit from home, not only for you, but also for your staff?
Well, I've loved it. I've loved it. It's like recruiting 90s style all over again. When I first came to ORU in 1996, none of us had cell phones. If you went to an event in the summer, you got what you thought might be a home number. And then if there was a second phone number listed in the packet, it was usually the office number of one of the parents. And I usually always called the wrong one first and then apologized and tried to get a number right with the young lady. But I think the thing that I loved about it during that time and in my early years as a young assistant coach, it was always about relationships and just great communication. And you learn so much about young women just on their ability to communicate. We've got one of our signees from just last week who's going to be coming into us at ORU this summer. She's a communications major, and that was my degree in college. And so instantly I fell in love with her because she was just expressive and could, kind of have a great conversation, hold a great conversation on the phone. So for me during this time, I think that's just been a lot of fun. I think getting back to the roots that recruiting is all about people. It's all about people. It's all about relationships. It's about the simplicity of, hey, we have a need. Everything that we can see on the outside is that you're a great fit for that need, but here's who we are. Do we meet needs for you as a university and the experience that you're looking for? And so that's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I probably know a lot of our young women that are coming in this year even better than previous classes and stuff, because you're just, you're forced to figure it out and to get that communication going. And it's been very, very good. Very good.
I know you all have gotten a little bit creative doing some virtual tours of some of the facilities.
Right. We got a little bit of special permission to kind of, Kyron Stokes and I did a little social distancing, but needed a couple of our recruits to be able to see facilities and to, and just kind of have a good feel for what campus looked like and everything else. And at the same time, being able to do that in a personal way, kind of going through our campus. And so that was a lot of fun. We apologized up front that we are not professional filmmakers or producers. So we're just basketball coaches. So you're going to take some of the good with the bad, as we attempt this today. But I think even in mistakes and kind of fumbling and losing connections at times, you get a real sense of who people are, including us, So yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Probably a little different now. The big schools with the massive budgets can't pull out all the bells and whistles. Everybody's pretty much on the same playing field, right?
Well, it is. And you're always, for Power 5 schools, there's always going to be the strength of the name across the jersey. There's no question about that. But there is, I feel like it's less of a facilities arms race during these past, handful of weeks.
Sure.
I think that's just a little more, it's more relational, it's more relational, and finding a comfort level, not finding a comfort level with a coach or with a potential recruit, and just kind of getting a sense of that through all of it. So I don't think that the playing field will ever be nice and smooth, it'll never be completely level, but I feel like it's given us creative and special opportunities to put forth the benefits of who we are at ORU and what's unique and special about us. And that part has been never challenging. It's fun to find those creative solutions to the things that are limiting us right now.
As you look back at the last season, which just ended a month or so ago, what was the biggest pleasant surprise for you? And what was the biggest disappointment?
Good. I think pleasant surprise. We just had so many individuals adapt and step into necessary roles. And we were talking earlier about how blessed we were with an older group this year,
Yes.
and the maturity and the experience that comes along with that. And even some of those older players had to adapt into new needs that we had for them this year, sometimes in the face of adversity. You know, Gentry Holt, who had 1 year left to play for us, ends up experiencing a broken foot, I think like 48 hours before season opened.
Yes.
We lost her for the entire fall semester. And even as we got her back after Christmas, I think Gentry would probably even agree that it probably took her a month, you know, to kind of start to feel like herself again. And we had really hoped to get a lot of the rust off of her during those November games, those December games. So that's just an example of a personal challenge that Gentry went through and came through with flying colors to go on and be named to the all newcomer team in our conference. But
Right.
during that time that we didn't have Gentry, you had other players that had to adapt and step up and adjust their roles. I thought Kenny Lippy, from the get-go, just had a different way in which she carried herself this year. She pursued ownership, you know, and responsibility, and did a great job with that. You had other older players, mature players like Riley Torrey, who kind of fought those fifth-year senior injury days. You know, it was a little bit of an ongoing joke early in the season, but if you went to the training room, we had all the grandmas up there, you know, every day. You know, all your fifth-year seniors are kind of getting treatment every day before practice, maybe coming in later again in the day. And that's part of it. I remember back in, you know, different eras, you always have your older players spend a little bit more time in the training room because those
Yes.
bodies have been through a lot. And then I'll kind of finish that thought with, you know, I thought Montse Bretones just finally had that year that we've wanted for her for so long. She and Riley both ended up being honorable mention all conference. Kenny was first team all conference. But Mo, I just thought just grew in every aspect. You know, I know she was even nominated as one of our top international business students in our School of Business at ORU. And so she was a French horn player for her first 2 years on our campus. I mean, she's a Renaissance woman. And I
Yes.
thought the basketball finally caught up with everything else for her this year too, as far as our dependence on her.
And then the biggest disappointment, you look back and go, gosh, I wish that would have been different.
Yeah, you know, and that probably gets back to the injury bug for us this
Yes.
year as well. You know, I think we because of losing Gentry for the whole fall semester, we had to kind of we went through a little identity crisis, and then we got her back, and we needed to go through another identity crisis so we could pull her back in. I thought Nina Taylor, our freshman out of Parsons, Kansas, really clicked about 2 weeks into conference season and was on her way to be a really special incoming freshman for us in the second semester. Broke her hand, you know, missed the last 3 weeks, I think maybe 4 weeks of season that we played without her. And so just a couple of things like that. But at the end of the day, to have some of the ups and downs that we had and finish third in a conference that had number 17 in the nation that ran through the conference undefeated, South Dakota State in its second, you know, so we're just knocking at the door. And we need that year of staying healthy and having a couple of positions covered coming up this next year, which I feel like we do with the incoming players.
Misty, you know, there are a lot of people anxious about the world as it is today, not only your players, but also fans. What Bible verse is uplifting to folks to hear, what would you recommend for them?
You know, I have a couple of verses that I've probably had hung on a wall since I was 10 years old, you know, growing up in a preacher's house. But, you know, I would always go back to Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans to prosper you, not to harm you, but plans to give you a hope and a future, knowing that that's where our hope lies. But really, Romans 8:28, you know, we know in all things God works together for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And, you know, I think one of the things that I always try to share when I get to speak that verse out loud, it gets back to the relationship that we have with the Lord, you know, that we know that all things work together for the good for those who love him, who have a relationship with him, and who understand that they've been called for a purpose. And that would just be my encouragement. If there's anybody out there who doesn't have that relationship with Jesus, just to understand that he wants that with you, that the Lord wants to be in a relationship with you. And your calling is best found understanding it through the eyes of the Lord and the purpose that he has for us on this earth. And so that every day, you know, is a huge balm. you know, for me personally, in the midst of adversity at times, in the midst of difficulties within our own home, within our coaching profession, with what we're going on in our world right now, there is a living hope, and we have confidence in that.
Misty, we appreciate you taking some time, and thank you very much, and stay safe.
Yes, thank you, Scott. You too. It's good to see your face, even through a Zoom call.
Thank you.
All right.